It's funny how life works. 2 months ago, my husband, Daniel, and I were living in Charlotte, North Carolina, feeling completely overwhelmed, like our lives had been turned upside down. Today, we're settling into a beautiful new home in Nashville, Tennessee, painting a nursery that's about to welcome our first child. The biggest change, though? We have a restraining order against Daniel's parents, Susan and Robert. Yeah. It still feels surreal to say it out loud, but looking back, I can see every single step that led us to this unbelievably painful, yet ultimately necessary, place. It all started, really, when Daniel and I announced our pregnancy on social media. I was so excited, so hopeful. For years, Susan and Robert had been difficult. They never liked me, not from day one. I'm a few years older than Daniel. I was married once before to a guy named Mark, and I've always been outspoken, with different political views. The biggest sin in their eyes? I make more money than Daniel. They called it emasculating for him, and they even skipped our wedding because of all these reasons. Daniel, bless him, never held it against me. He's always been my rock, but I knew deep down, he missed his family. So when they reached out after our pregnancy announcement, saying they wanted to reconcile, I thought, this is it. This is our chance. I truly believed it was an opportunity to make things right, for Daniel's sake. They emailed, asking for our updated address and contact info. I hesitated, thinking about everything that had happened, but Daniel's happiness was my priority. After a couple of days, I sent it. A week later, they showed up. I'd planned it as a surprise for Daniel. He was home, and I went to answer the door, my heart aflutter with cautious optimism. But when I pulled it open, it wasn't just Susan and Robert standing there. There was another man beside them. And my stomach dropped, because it was Mark. My ex-husband. My in-laws were smiling, almost gleeful, like this was the funniest thing they'd ever done. We brought a special guest. Robert practically chirped, looking at me with this unsettling smirk. Mark, to his credit, looked incredibly uncomfortable. It took me a second, a solid, horrifying second, to process what I was seeing. The audacity. The sheer, calculated cruelty of it. This wasn't a reconciliation. This was a low blow. A weaponized prank. Without another word, I just closed the door. Locked it. They kept ringing the doorbell, yelling my name, trying to get me to let them in. The noise was incredible, and Daniel came out of the living room, confusion etched on his face. "What's going on?" he asked, hearing his parents' voices outside. I told him everything, the reconciliation plan, the ex-husband, the whole messed-up surprise. And then I just broke down. See, things with Mark hadn't been good for years. Ever since Daniel and I got engaged, he'd turned into an absolute nightmare. Constantly texting from new accounts after I blocked him, telling me we were meant to be, harassing our college friends about how my marriage wouldn't last. He was obsessed. So to have him, of all people, standing on my doorstep, brought there by Daniel's own parents, just sent me over the edge. Daniel was livid. He went outside, handled them, and when he came back, they were gone. I didn't even ask what he said. I was too angry, too hurt, too full of self-recrimination for even trusting them. The next day, another email arrived. An apology, they said. They claimed it was just a joke, that they had no idea about Mark's obsessive behavior. That Daniel had explained it to them. They wanted a second chance. But even if they didn't know about his stalking, who in their right mind brings an ex-spouse, especially one from a brief, unhappy marriage, to a reconciliation? It was still completely inappropriate. I wasn't buying it. Daniel, true to form, stood by me. He told me not to feel guilty, that I tried, and that our marriage, and my happiness, were more important to him than anything. That helped, truly. I'd been beating myself up, hormones or not, for keeping him from his family. But he reminded me that they were the ones who consistently messed things up. But it wasn't over. A week later, ignoring my silence, they showed up again. This time, Daniel was out at an urgent work meeting. I was home alone, pregnant, and they were banging on the door, demanding to be let in. They were aggressive, loud. It freaked me out, but I tried to stay calm. I opened the door just a crack, explained Daniel wasn't home, and asked them to leave. I told them they were stressing me out, and it wasn't good for the baby. I tried to be polite, to de-escalate. That was a mistake. They started railing at me, saying I was the problem, too sensitive, couldn't take a joke. It was sickening. They were showing their true colors, and I had a sudden, cold clarity. I pulled out my phone and started recording. I didn't think I'd need it, Daniel always believes me, but I wanted evidence. The video captured it all, their shouts, the banging, the nasty accusations. Susan, Daniel's mom, even declared that whatever plans I had to alienate Daniel from them wouldn't work. Finally, I warned them I'd call the police. They must have realized Daniel wasn't coming home to back them up, because they left. When Daniel got home, I showed him the video. He was beyond upset. Livid, he wanted to storm over there, get a restraining order immediately. I suggested he try talking to them first, to see if a calm discussion could achieve anything. He reluctantly agreed. So, Daniel went to their house. He was gone for less than an hour. He came back infuriated, saying there was absolutely no reasoning with them. They started civil, he said, but when he tried to explain that I needed space, that my pregnancy wasn't the time for heated arguments, they flipped. They accused me of brainwashing him, of controlling him because I'm older and earn more. They told him he needed to pull the strings, to not let me turn their grandbaby against them. And then they threatened us. They said they would fight us for custody of our unborn child, that we weren't fit parents, that they would do whatever it took to raise their grandchild their way, not like me. Luckily, Daniel had the foresight to record that conversation too. In our state, that's admissible. That sealed it. We knew then that a restraining order wasn't just an option, it was a necessity. And we also realized we couldn't stay in Charlotte. The thought of them showing up again, unannounced, unhinged, was terrifying. Especially as my maternity leave approached and I'd be home alone with a newborn. So, we fast-tracked our plans to move. And it was a good thing we did. Just a few days later, they showed up at our Charlotte house again, while we were watching a movie. We decided to ignore them. But then, Robert, Daniel's dad, started screaming obscenities at me from the porch, calling me names I won't even repeat. He sounded completely unhinged. That's when I called the police. Daniel, without a word, went to the door and told his dad to leave. The two of them were almost wrestling, Robert trying to push past Daniel, probably to get to me, while Susan stood behind him, glaring. The police arrived quickly. They took Susan and Robert away, and we had the security footage to back up our call. 2 months later, here we are. The restraining order was granted. We've moved into a new house in Nashville, in a lovely, safe neighborhood. The nursery is almost finished. It's still hard to believe we had to do all this. But I wouldn't trade the peace we have now for anything. Daniel has been incredible, standing up for me, for us, for our future. Oddly enough, even Mark, my ex-husband, sent one final message, from yet another new account. He said he realized his mistake, that he saw the look on my face that day, and he finally understood I was happy without him. He was letting me go. It was bittersweet, almost bizarrely kind, but I just left him on read. One problem solved, I guess. This whole ordeal has been a whirlwind, especially while pregnant, but it's shown me how incredibly strong Daniel and I are as a team. We're ready for this next chapter, just the two of us, soon to be 3. What do you think? Did we do the right thing by cutting them out completely?